When I was debating whether I should marry Layla, I had a mentor who I reached out to and I was like, hey, what do you think? And I was actually like, just not sure. I just honestly came in with like open hands here. I was like, I don't know. He was like, your business is up. You're eating better. You're working out. You are less stressed than you were. And she has done all of these things to create the space for you to do that.
Find a woman who kills drama instead of starting it, makes life quieter, not louder, tells you you're better than these guys, you can beat them, and wants you to win even more than you do. Then become the man required to attract that woman and marry her the moment you find her.
Yeah. That was just a tweet about my life. When I was debating whether I should marry Layla, I had a mentor who I reached out to and I was like, hey, what do you think? And I was actually like, just not sure. I just honestly came in with like open hands here. I was like, I don't know. Because my relationship with Layla was different than any other relationship that I'd been in before. And he said, look at your stats. And this is probably the most Hormozian of love story decisions. But he was like, your business is up. You're eating better. You're working out. You are less stressed than you were. And she has done all of these things to create the space for you to do that. And when I translated into like what has changed about my life rather than, do I feel the chemical compound of whatever, it actually made it a much easier decision for me to say, you know what, this makes sense, which was, by the way, my proposal to Layla. I think it would make sense if we got married was my actual, which wasn't a question. It was a statement. She was like, is that a proposal? And I was like, well, are you saying yes? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, then we need to get you a ring. And that was our proposal. There was, yeah. So that's Hormozi's romance. But anyways, I think a lot of people chase the fireworks rather than the coal furnace that takes a long time to heat up, but then it keeps going, and it can power for a much longer time during good times and bad times. Because if it makes sense without emotion, then it will make sense when the emotions are gone.
Yeah, that's an interesting assessment of the way that the human attachment system works, that basically you have sanity, insanity, sanity again.
Yeah.
And everybody should see themselves as potential future drug addicts that are playing around with maybe one of the most powerful substances on the planet. The only issue is that it's endogenously created inside of you as opposed to exogenously given to you by a guy in a BMW. That's what falling in love is. Yeah. Falling in love is choosing to deal yourself drugs for between 6 and 24 months.
Yeah.
During that time, you cannot trust your own decision making. So you need to make as rational of a decision up front in the belief that that will be where you end up on the other side of this window. For the terminology, it's the passionate versus the companionate attachment system. It's because serotonin gets dropped in the brain, because you're just dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, drive. Yeah. And then
you don't sleep, you don't eat, you're like, oh my God, she's amazing.
You come out of it 24 months later and you're like, what the fuck was that? And if you're not careful, you're now in a relationship, in a house with a golden retriever and maybe a ring and maybe a kid with a person who you don't really like all that much.
And major stats go down.
Do you ever hear the diary entry that Charles Darwin wrote when he was unsure about whether or not to get married?
Yes, but you could
sick. The document has, Darwin's unsure about whether or not he should get married, so he makes a list. The document has 2 columns, one labeled marry, one labeled not marry. And above them, circled, are the words, this is the question. On the pro-marriage side of the equation were children, if it please God, constant companion and friend in old age who will feel interested in one, object to be beloved and played with. After reflection of an unknown length, he modified the foregoing sentence with, better than a dog anyhow. He continued, home and someone to take care of house, charms of music and female chit-chat. These things good for one's health, but terrible loss of time. Without warning, Darwin had, from the pro-marriage column, swerved uncontrollably into major anti-marriage factors, so major that he underlined it. This issue, the infringement of marriage on his time, especially his work time, was addressed at greater length in the appropriate not marry column. Not marrying, he wrote, would preserve freedom to go where one likes, choice of society and little of it, conversation of clever men at clubs, not forced to visit relatives and bend in every trifle, to have the expense and anxiety of children, perhaps quarrelling, loss of time, cannot read in the evening, fatness and idleness, anxiety and responsibility, less money for books, and, if many children, forced to gain one's bread. Even experts in mating and evolution struggle with big decisions. Sick.
The line that I remember from that most vividly was less money for books. it was just such a and less money for books.
Yeah, that will be in there. I want to do another one. I don't mean to just read that exists. Have you ever read Richard Feynman's love letter to his wife?
No, I read The Pleasure of Finding Things Out.
Okay.
But I love Feynman. Love. I mean, you can see a lot of influence.
I might not be able to say this without crying, which is going to be very embarrassing, but I'm going to try. October 17th, 1946. Darlene, I adore you, sweetheart. I know how much you like to hear it, but I don't only write it because you like it. I write it because it makes me warm all over inside to write you. It is such a terribly long time since I last wrote to you, almost 2 years, but I know you'll excuse me because you understand how I am, stubborn and realistic, and I thought there was no sense to writing. But now I know, my darling wife, that it is right to do what I have delayed in doing, and that I have done so much in the past. I want to tell you I love you. I want to love you. I will always love you. I find it hard to understand in my mind what it means to love you after you are dead. But I still want to comfort and take care of you. And I want you to love me and care for me. I want to have problems to discuss with you. I want to do little projects with you. I never thought until now that we can do that. What should we do? We started to learn to make clothes together, or learn Chinese, or get a movie projector. Can't I do something now? No. I am alone without you. And you were the idea woman, and general instigator of all our wild adventures. When you were sick, you worried because you could not give me something that you wanted to and thought I needed. You needn't have worried, just as I told you then. There was no real need, because I loved you in so many ways, so much. And now, it is clearly even more true. You can give me nothing, yet I love you so that you stand in my way of loving anyone else. But I want you to stand there. You, dead, are so much better than anyone else alive. I know you will assure me that I am foolish and that you want me to have full happiness and don't want to be in my way. I'll bet you are surprised that I don't even have a girlfriend except you, sweetheart, after 2 years. But you can't help it, darling. Nor can I. I don't understand it, for I have met many girls, and very nice ones, and I don't want to remain alone. But in 2 or 3 meetings, they all seem ashes. You only are left to me. You are real. My darling wife, I do adore you. I love my wife. My wife is dead.
Tough. To play the reverse out, it's like, would I want Layla to write that letter? And I don't think I would. Unless she was happy writing that letter. But if the removal of me as a contingency of reinforcement for her meant that she couldn't find that in somebody else, would sadden me. And so like with Layla, I've told her, I tell her a lot. I was like, I'm going to die before you. Statistically, I'm for sure going to die before you.
She's a little younger.
She's younger and I'm bigger.
Female.
She exercised, like she's for sure going to live longer. And I was like, I want you to spend as little time as humanly possible from the time that I die to finding somebody else. You do me no service by making yourself miserable. And you do not discredit or dishonor me by finding somebody else to spend your life with. So, yeah, just, I only think about that from reverse.
There's the joy of melancholy.
Yeah.
Is an interesting kind of emotion that's it's complex.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this strange,
like wallowing,
satisfaction in wistfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, wallowing's maybe a little more loaded.
Mm-hmm.
But melancholy, there can be odd joy in sadness, and a kind of beauty that you get to experience after something is gone that you can't experience during it. I've not had anybody in my life die. Only child with a mother and a father that's still alive. Like there's no one.
Must be nice.
Yeah. But there's not been many things that I've lost, and this is me Monday morning quarterbacking. I don't know, but maybe.
What's a mood setter?